Okay, so Barda Pab Chrysler Kinnis Down Ichi Gede. A very warm welcome to you. My name is Councillor Charlie McCoubrey and I'm leader of the council. I can confirm that the committee officer has conducted a sound check before the start of the meeting, so I'll assume that everyone can hear me. Can I welcome everyone to today's meeting? We're all attending remotely. In addition to cabinet members, we also have non-cabinet members and officers joining us to assist with our discussions. For those viewing the live stream of the recording, cabinet members are identified with an asterisk next to their name. This meeting will be recorded and live streamed and will be available for viewing after the meeting. Should the live streaming fail, the meeting will continue and a recording will be available through the council's website following the conclusion of the meeting. Can I remind members that translation facilities are available and to choose your language of choice. If you wish to speak, please use the raise hand function. You can also use the chat facility, but please note that I may not be able to monitor the chat facility during the meeting. All microphones will be muted. If you've indicated your intention to speak, you'll be invited to turn your microphone on. If you leave your device for any reason, can you please ensure that you're muted and that you turn your video off? Okay, so thank you, members. If we move on to the first agenda item, it's apologies for absence.
Apologies for absence received from councillors Cheryl Carlisle and Emma Leighton-Jones, and also from Jenny Williams, the Strategic Director for Social Care and Education. Okay, deal, Shan. Agenda item 2 is declarations of interest, code of local government conduct. Members are reminded they must declare the existence and nature of their declared personal interest. Would any members like to declare an interest? No, that's fine. We'll move on to urgent matters. I'm not aware of any urgent matters you'd like to bring up. No. So agenda item 4 is announcements by the leaders. We will all have seen, quite frankly, the shocking scenes every morning in Ukraine. There's been an emergency meeting called tomorrow by Welsh Government with 22 leaders of the local authorities in Wales to come up with a response and see what we need to do. I'll bring a report to council on Thursday morning with what the ask is for Conwy as a council, but I want to assure people that we will do whatever we need to do to provide support as we've done in the past many times. There's nothing else from me, so I'll move over to any announcements by the Chief Executive.
Just one, Leader, thanks. I think Councillor Emma announced at Council last week that we were still awaiting the outcome of the pay negotiations. I'm pleased to say that they were settled yesterday. Well, we were informed that yesterday afternoon, I think, that they were settled. So we will be doing whatever we can to get the payments out to staff and the back pay out to staff as quickly as we possibly can. It's good news.
Okay, deal, and yeah, absolutely agree that that's really good news. Okay, so we'll move on to the first agenda item, which sits within my own portfolio. It's the adoption of the North Wales Regional Economic Framework. You'll find the report on pages 3 to 33. So the purpose of this report is to present the draft Regional Economic Framework for North Wales and to seek its approval by Conwy. What is a regional economic framework? Well, it's essentially intended as a vehicle to help promote collaborative regional planning and delivery amongst public, private and third sector partners. I think in North Wales we have a really strong regional identity, and I think in Conwy we've got a really proud history of collaborative working, where it's for the benefit of our residents. I think one silver lining for the pandemic is that relationships being strengthened. I know I've enjoyed really good working relationships with the other 5 leaders and the chief executives. I think we're definitely stronger together. I don't propose to go into the document in great detail. It's there for members and no doubt have studied it, but it's important to note it's deliberately set at a high level, so it's not too prescriptive and that there's a degree of flexibility in there. From a Conwy point of view, though, it is encouraging to see the high profile given to the tidal lagoon. I know it's something that our members support really strongly, and recently Denbighshire Council, again, that they've come out very strongly in favour of it. It was discussed at scrutiny. They supported the recommendations on the 10th of February. So again, as I said, it's self-evident what's there. I'd move members to page 5, and I'd like to move option 5.1, which is to adopt the Regional Economic Framework for North Wales. But I'm very happy to take any questions members might have. So over to you, members. Councillor Gregg.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. As part of the overall high-level work that's in there is obviously the high-level regional planning. And one thing that's a matter of site concern, and we're actually touching this on the next item on the agenda, which is the local area energy plan, is that areas have been zoned for onshore wind farms and offshore wind farms. and particularly the land take of potential areas that are pre-zoned by the onshore ones, they would, because of the size of the actual areas, they would not feed into the local area production figures of the relative counties. They'll be considered on a national basis. And I think that's just one thing to bear in mind going forward, because it's something that may cause a bit of a concern. But other than that, I fully support it, Leader.
Yeah, no, absolutely, Greg. And as I said, it is high level, and it's a starting point, isn't it? The delivery will be a different beast altogether. But I think as a framework, some really interesting stuff in there. And certainly the principles are something that I strongly support. So any other members, any comments they'd like to make? No. So I've proposed it. Greg, were you happy to second that? Okay, so can members indicate their support, please? Wonderful, thank you very much. So we'll move on to agenda item 7, which sits in the housing and regulatory portfolio. So it's Conway's local area energy plan, and that's on pages 34 to 175. So over to Councillor Bromley.
Thank you, Leader. And yes, this leads on nicely from the previous item. This is the energy local area energy plan, and there's an awful lot of work gone into this already from members and from officers. Conway is one of 2 pilot areas that, along with Newport, have been awarded the funding to undertake this work. And I am particularly pleased with the work that's gone on in leading up to this stage. It's a key document for our future. And I think, touching back on what you said earlier about the situation in Ukraine, it certainly brought us to like the need to be sustainable, the need to look after our own energy, and the need to reduce our energy needs probably going forward, because certainly we cannot continue to rely on fossil fuels and the continual wasting of energy. We have to look at new ways of working. This document really is the starter for 10. There's an awful lot of work gone into it with our partners in Arab to put the report together. We've had a number of work groups. The climate change board has been set up that Greg chairs very amicably. So that's a key document. I'll just turn to some key words that James was keen that I put forward to it. The Welsh Government have committed to achieve a net zero target by 2050. I'll be 100 by then if I live that long. So certainly it's a relevant document as far as I'm concerned. So they've committed to achieve net zero, say, by 2050, only 25 years to go. So it's a massive piece of work we need to throw our weight behind. And the Conway local area energy plan is a positive step forward in working towards that goal. Conway is one of the 2 pilot schemes funded by the Welsh Government to produce the local area energy plan. The plan is the result of a strong governance and engagement approach with key stakeholders and was supported by a project team. The project board, elected by Conway Climate Challenge Board, is also included. It also includes workshops with key stakeholders throughout the 10-month production process. Conclusion are clear. Conway will need to move away from using natural gas, diesel and petrol, alongside with bringing forward new local renewable energy supply, related infrastructure and energy storage by 2050. It will also need to deliver building retrofit and electric vehicle infrastructure to meet future demand. In achieving this, Conway local area plan identifies 7 interventions and actions that need to be progressed to overcome this change and achieve net zero. The local area plan is a very good platform to achieve the net zero goal for Conway, but strong programme management will be required going forward, working with internal and external services to deliver. The local area energy plan was presented to scrutiny and welcomed. Indeed, it was welcomed, and thrown their support totally behind it. The recommendation were fully agreed by the scrutiny committee to agree that Conway local area energy plan for 2022 to progress the local area plan via the climate challenge program board, supported by a delivery program manager, and to establish an advisory board to enable wider input into the delivery of the interventions and actions. I can't stress how strong the program management and support is required to ensure this plan is progressed working towards net zero. The 7 interventions will require project teams led by various county council services, including planning, policy, housing, ERF, etc., etc. Therefore, I can't stress the importance of seeking programme project manager support to bring together and deliver programme working with key services. Now, James was very keen that I get that message over, and I think we're all committed to that. It's all in our mutual benefit. We do, it's a big ask, it's a massive ask. It's a very ambitious programme. So I'm sure we will all support it today. So, and then throw our weight behind it. If we tackle this in the same way that we've had to tackle COVID, we will achieve it. When the backs to the wall, we can do things. And I think this is an example of what we need to really, major on going forward for the future, not just ourselves, for the future generations as well. So happy to, I think James is here if you've got any technical questions. So over to you. Any questions?
Okay, Diolch, Bromley. I'll bring Councillor Gregg in, please.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. As Councillor Bromley referenced, this sits under the Climate Challenge Programme Board. It certainly will do if you approve it today. And obviously, we have a very robust framework of programme delivery set in there, and this is a very key scheme to drive forward. Certainly on the transport front, this also ties in with what the North Wales Economic Ambition Board Transport Subgroup is trying to deliver across North Wales. So in a strange way, our first 3 reports all link into each other quite neatly, and I'm quite happy to second this report and thank everybody for the very hard work that has gone into this. As I think only a few of us have seen it so far, but it's phenomenal the amount of work that's been done.
Brilliant. Thanks, Greg. Councillor Bryan.
Yeah, just to follow on from Greg, you can see that there's an enormous amount of work already gone into preparing this particular document. But as I've said before, I hope that we act as champion and catalyst when it comes to developing the public electric vehicle charging infrastructure, and that we don't think that it is our job or our responsibility to actually provide that public infrastructure. We don't want to be putting our money into providing huge charging car parks throughout the county. I think that's up to Scottish Power, up to the national grid, or the oil companies to be dealing with that. Certainly we should be providing the charging points for our own vehicles and charging points in our own car parks, but not moving into providing the new sort of petrol station sort of infrastructure. But otherwise it's an amazing report. And if Garonwy says he'll be 100, I'll be slightly older than that, Garonwy, but I really hope when looking down that all this comes to fruition.
I like your optimism that you'll be looking down, Brian, not up. Yeah, has any members any other comments they'd like to make?
Could I just cut in, if nobody's got any further questions? I'd like to thank all the members that have been involved so far, and certainly the officers that have been working on this. It's been happening quietly behind the scenes, and now is the time to bring it out into the open and get that engagement across the board. So it's an excellent report.
Yeah, I completely agree. I think it's an excellent piece of work. It doesn't shy away from highlighting the challenges, but there's a pathway through that. And I think you're right, Brian. It clearly sort of shows that this is everyone's problem. We're all going to have to be involved: private sector, public sector.
So
behavioural change. Sorry, Gormy.
Yeah, sorry, Leader. Just going to say the recommendations are on page 36, and I'm happy to move them on block if I'm sure members will support.
I'll be the second on block.
I think as an authority, we should be proud that we're leading the charge here. There's 2 authorities, Newport and ourselves, and we're showing what we can do. And you're right, when the challenges are there, this authority will meet them. But it will be a huge challenge. So enough rambling from me. We've had the recommendations that have been proposed by Gronwy and supported by Greg. Are members happy to vote on that, please? Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Leader. Thank you, members.
I'll just 1 second, get my agenda back up.
Okay, so we move on to agenda item 8, which sits within the environment and transportation portfolio. It's the approval of the active travel network, which is on pages 176 to 202, and we'll go over to Councillor Gregg to deliver that report, please.
Yeah, thank you, Leader. This report follows on from the report to Cabinet dated 16th of June 2021, entitled Active Travel Network Map Review, in which is set out the strategy for consultation on the creation of the draft active travel maps, previously known as the Integrated Network Maps, in readiness for Welsh Minister approval, which was originally scheduled for the 31st December 2021, and to raise awareness of the active travel map to members. In order to fully comply with the Act's requirement for a 12-week consultation period, a revised submission date of 31st of March 2022 was agreed with Welsh Government. Obviously, there being certain constraints with the normal consultation processes due to the COVID regulations which have been in place. The Active Travel Act places statutory duties on all local authorities in Wales. These include the production of maps known as the Active Travel Network Maps, which are referred to as ATNM. These maps include the existing active travel network and also future aspirations. These maps set out the year-on-year delivery of improvements to active travel routes and facilities. In addition, the Act provides provision for making people aware of the available and planned routes through the publication of maps and promotion of active travel as a means of transport. CCBC launched a two-phase consultation engagement programme on the 10th of May 2021, where members of the public and other stakeholders were given the opportunity and encouraged to express their thoughts on where CCBC should develop future active travel provisions and also comment on the existing routes. This consultation ran for over four months over two phases, where CCBC received a total of 671 responses on the Commonplace portal from members of the public, special interest groups, local members and town and community councils. Also, additional responses received directly by email and post. Responses help inform CCBC in creating the active travel network map, which sets out the council's aspirations for future development of the new and improved walking and cycling routes. The proposed ATNM, which is due to be sent to Welsh Government for ministerial approval on Appendix A of the report. Now, this went to Economy and Place scrutiny on the 16th of February. Scrutiny were very supportive of this, but did ask for additional route to be added, which is footpath number 73, which is a crossing on the Welsh coastal path in Diganway. The recommendation from scrutiny was to add number 73, and that's something I'm more than happy to do. I should point out this is currently closed by Network Rail. So therefore, I'd like to move the recommendations that we adopt the active travel map with the addition of footpath number 73, and I move.
Diolch, Greg. Cynhorwydd Chris.
Diolch yn fawr, Hywanydd, and thanks to you, Councillor Gregg. I'm happy to support this, of course. The portal I found was very easy to use, and a lot of my residents were very happy to participate through that means. So that was a good way of doing it. I just wanted to point out, because I had a few residents concerned about the quieter residential streets or the narrower streets where we're going to have these active travel routes, and they were really worried that they'd more or less be closed off to cars and things. And I just want to point out that there'll be a variety of interventions, and somewhere like, I've got Penryn Side in my ward, which has got a very narrow main street, Pendra Road, which was really made for the horse and cart, but we've put that in the active travel aspirations, and the measures may actually come out as just a lower speed limit or traffic calming or signage or crossing points to reinforce the message that pedestrians and cyclists have priorities over cars, which is according to the latest highway code, as we all know. So it's important that we do have adaptations to fall into line with the new highway code. So I just wanted to point that out for those sort of places where these routes will be going. Thank you again.
Okay, diolch, Chris. Any other members, any comments they'd like to make on it? No?
So, Greg, you've proposed it. Chris, was it seconding the recommendations? Again, I agree with everything you said. It's an excellent piece of work, and we do need a sea change in behaviour. We need to wean ourselves off cars. We need to get out and be more active, not just from a carbon agenda, but clearly from a health point of view as well. So I'm very happy to support this. It's something anyone who's got young children, to be able to take them out safely on the bikes and walking is really important for all sorts of areas. So we've had a proposer and a seconder. Members indicate for in favour, please. Okay, so we'll move on to agenda item 9, which is in the governance and performance portfolio, which is to look at the corporate risk register and corporate issues register. And we'll go over to Cynareth Chris for this, please.
Thanks again, Leader. This starts on page 203. This report has been to Finance and Resources Scrutiny last Monday for consent, and our Governance and Audit Committee has also examined it as part of the assurance and governance process. In addition, Audit Wales have also done an external review, which was not a statutory requirement, but was very welcome, a very welcome procedure for our teams, very useful. So a risk is an event that, should it occur, it would impact our ability to successfully achieve our outcomes. And a corporate issue refers to an event that is already with us and management mitigation actions are underway or planned. So a formal review of risks and issues takes place twice annually, but they are continually monitored by services throughout the year. Of course, we're still in unpredictable COVID-19 pandemic times. The corporate issues log starts on page 207 and emphasizes 2 new issues. Recruitment difficulties are not unique to Conway, but we have a corporate recruitment project in place. Homelessness has also been highlighted, rightly so, and the management controls in place are on page 219, and these include developing our rapid rehousing transition plan by September of this year. Turning to the new risks, NR3 covers procurement, which is in my portfolio, capacity to deal with carbon reduction targets and adapt to global supply chain issues, plus to ensure that we support the local economy as much as possible. These have all been flagged up, and a business case was submitted and will hopefully be confirmed this week in the budget, and that will provide an extra full-time suitably qualified officer. NR4 is about the new style governance and audit committee, which results from the 2021 Local Government and Elections Act, and this needs adaptations and a training plan. The new balance of the committee will be in favour of lay members, and that should be in place for May. NR5 addresses preparations for any future pandemic. We know we need to reflect and learn from all our recent experiences. The risk status report starts on page 227 with a color-coded matrix chart. The risk items marked in blue have been amended. There is a summary so you can see at a glance the risk trends. If I could just mention a couple of them, CR 4.1 and 4.2 concern the risk that the care sector is unsustainable and social care cannot meet our growing needs. These have been transferred to our corporate issues log. We all recognise the crisis the social care sector is in, and that it has impacted on the availability of staff and placements. The marketing and recruitment of foster carers remains a local priority for us. And we've also had the temporary setback in the building of the Buchenwald Assessment Centre, but hopefully that has been resolved with completion, I believe, expected in early next year. CR 9.3 covers our financial resilience. We've got to be able to pay for statutory responsibilities, of course, as well as growing demand and pay pressures. I think I can say that we are on track to set a balanced budget at full council on Thursday. I'll leave that to Brian if he wants to pad that out a bit. So we have again completed this exercise in light of COVID-19 uncertainty, and it indeed has been a big challenge. Realistic end dates have been inserted for mitigation, and we recognise there may be some slippage in pressurised areas. At this point, I'd like to thank Fran and the Corporate Performance and Management team for their hard work in challenging times. Fran is here to answer any questions. But if we look at the recommendation, it's on page 203, 2.1, and that is that members have reviewed and now approve the Corporate Risk Register and Corporate Issues Register, both in terms of the management of the risks and issues, and that governance processes have been followed. So I'd like to propose that, Leader.
Okay, Joel, Chris, thanks for taking us through that in really good detail. Any members like to comment? Councillor Julie.
Thank you, Leader. I'm happy to second that, and just to say that I think the appropriate risks are in there, highlighted. Homelessness. I guess the only other thing that, it's hard to judge how we see it as a risk, but the impact of what's happening currently, obviously it's going to have an impact in terms of our budgets, cost of living, fuel, food. Certainly that will have an impact on schools. Whether that's something or how we would reflect that in the risks moving forward. And obviously, there is a greater risk, which I don't even really want to say, but the risk of if there is an escalation. I don't know, Leader, whether that should be in there, but certainly what is in there in terms of highlighting homelessness, and certainly the education ones, and the changes that are made there seem to make sense. Obviously, we've had the review and consultation around the SLAs, which has been really productive over the last couple of years, really. So I'd like to take the opportunity to thank certainly education and Fran in all the work that's gone into here. But yeah, that's the only thing I would say, whether we do need to highlight the fact that obviously the world's a pretty precarious place at the minute, and there is risk certainly in terms of the impact it's going to have on our budgets across all departments, whether that should be a risk. Leader, thanks.
Thanks. I'll bring you in, Chief Executive, in at this stage.
Thanks, Charlie. Yes, thanks, Julie. I think for me that feels a big worry, isn't it? And I think the implications, it's too soon for us to know what the implications might be for Conway. Of course, we'll keep it under close review. I suspect we won't have any option other than to keep it under close review. So I wouldn't suggest amending the risk register today, but and let's hope we don't have to in due course, but we certainly won't ignore it. Thanks.
Hey, Julie. Yeah. We'll go over to Councillor Gromley, please.
Yeah, I was just reflecting on the report as we go through it and some of the issues that Chris raised. The whole thing is extremely timely, and it's obviously constantly under review. But the reports that have come forward today to Cabinet are a massive piece of work that's gone on over the last 12 months. And as we come to the end of this term, I'd like to thank all our officers and members that have put the effort into preparing all these reports. There's a massive challenge ahead of us going forward. Hopefully, some of us will be here in the next term to try and deliver some of those. But I'd like to thank you, Charlie, for the leadership you've shown since you've taken over the leadership. And it's been a privilege being part of this journey, but it is a very uncertain journey we're facing. So I'd like to thank everybody, because we probably won't have many decisions to make before purdah. So I'd just like to, basically a pat on the back for all the work that everybody's done. Well done.
Thanks, Gromit. That's very, very kind of you. Any other members like to comment? No. In that case, it's an excellent report. It doesn't shy away from highlighting the challenges that we face, but it's really clear for me that we need to move to a position of financial stability. That is key. If we're to meet challenges, known challenges and future challenges which may pop up, then we have to financial resilience. And I hope when it comes to the budget on Thursday that members will understand that and support that, because we have to be well resourced in order to be able to be resilient. We have to look after our staff. All those things are really, really important as we move forward. So If there's nobody else likes to comment, Councillor Chris, you've moved, and Councillor Julie, you've seconded it. So would members like to show their in favour? Okay, thank you very much. And that, members, concludes the meeting. So I wish you all a very happy St. David's Day, and hopefully you can enjoy it, get out in the sunshine, and I will see you all soon. Diolch.
Thanks, Leader. Thanks.
Okay.
Gary Santa.
Thanks, everybody.